This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome, everybody, to the current state of WWE. It is Monday, January 23rd, 2023. And as we speak, Raw 30 is going on in Philadelphia. And as a disclaimer, we have not seen anything that has gone on in Philadelphia. We are completely blind to everything that is going on. So if you hear us say something that doesn't make sense, just remember we haven't seen the show, okay? So I'd like to make sure that everyone knows. But tonight, I've got Anthony DeMarco back with us. We are going to cover a topic that we've never discussed specifically, of the possibility, the real possibility of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Roman Reigns this year at WrestleMania. And this story broke today, so we're going to get into it. Anthony, how you doing, man? And are you ready for this one?
Yeah, man, it feels like everything that we thought was going to happen at WrestleMania is really taking a sharp left turn or right turn, depending on which way you look at it, over the last couple weeks or last couple days or last couple hours, no matter how broad you want to go. And, I mean, last week we talked about how many different avenues WWE had at their fingertips to go with a lot of good ways for the main event of WrestleMania. But it seems like a brand new and arguably best option has come to light today. And I never thought we'd be sitting here, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin main eventing WrestleMania. But after his match last year against Kevin Owens, it seems like he has got the itch again. And with rumors and I guess reports coming out that The Rock is not going to be at WrestleMania, it seems like the next best option, or maybe the best option, has presented itself in its place.
Certainly, there's an argument to be made of who's the bigger star, The Rock or Austin. I still believe that Stone Cold Steve Austin was the bigger star slightly, although The Rock in his own right lasted longer in the business a little bit, and obviously has gone on to be the biggest star in Hollywood, the highest paid actor in Hollywood. But this news, by the way, guys, where we're getting this off Wrestling Inc. We're getting this off of Fightful. Okay, this is not your clickbait websites. These are credible websites, and they're not saying that this is confirmed, okay? They're saying, though, that WWE, for those that haven't heard yet, have pitched the idea and have given Austin a, quote, enormous offer to face Roman Reigns at this year's WrestleMania. This is not set in stone. We're not trying to say this is 100% happening. This is going to be awesome. We are simply telling you that WWE has made an offer to Stone Cold Steve Austin, likely many zeros proposed on that offer to Stone Cold to face Roman Reigns. And as you mentioned, this has taken a turn, whether you look at it good or bad. I think the Rock story is a better story, but I think Austin is the bigger star. So I guess if you're going to look at the silver lining, if this happens, that this would be a true Stone Cold return, and it would be against Roman Reigns. It's something that none of us have even thought about, because it has always been forever, like the last couple of years, like The Rock. It's going to be The Rock. Oh, The Rock. And again, great story built in. But if you're going to have Stone Cold Steve Austin, like, when you heard this, when you see this, if this happens, are you excited about this? I mean, yes, The Rock is a better story, but when you hear this, are you like, all right, like, I want to see this? How do you feel about it?
Well, obviously I'm excited. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you've been trying, or everyone has been trying to figure out the perfect foe to step up to Roman Reigns for the better part of 2.5 years. But Stone Cold Steve Austin is the guy who I would argue is no better option. But I do think that there's something to be said that for at least 1.5 years now, even you, I know I've listened to your shows and you've talked about it at length, have been waiting for The Rock to come back, because the story writes itself. Storyline wise, it makes so much sense. But how long are you going to hold out hope for The Rock? And it felt like it was do or die time. I've been thinking that he was going to come back since Survivor Series of last year in 2021, when they brought the prop from his movie Red Notice into it. and they've strung it out as long as they could. And I think at this point, this is all the speculation on my part, obviously, but I think WWE is just saying, look, we were expecting it, the fans were expecting The Rock, and at this point we have to give them something bigger. And what is bigger than Stone Cold Steve Austin, even if, like you mentioned, the story not pales in comparison, but certainly isn't on the same level. And I mean, there's certainly an argument to be made that you should capitalize on Sami Zayn's incredible momentum over the last 6 months or so. You could certainly see the argument to have Cody Rhodes be the guy to step up to Roman Reigns on the grandest stage of them all. But I think from WWE's point of view, the fans have been expecting one level for so long. And if they can't give them The Rock, they have to give them something similar. Because the entire payoff for this program or this storyline with Roman Reigns has been for something absolutely massive. And for as much momentum as Sami Zayn has, and for as big of a return Cody Rhodes was and will be at the Royal Rumble, I think that maybe in the grand scheme of things, it won't seem that massive. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's a massive, massive match against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39.
It is going to, if, okay, this still may not happen. I mean, it could end up being Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That to me is as likely, if not actually a little more likely, than Stone Cold versus Roman Reigns. And it still could be Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, the main event that we all thought it was going to be 6 months ago. So that could still happen as well. But the fact that this is a true, real option on the table is pretty exciting if The Rock doesn't come to WWE, which it sounds like he's not. And you know what? This could be a red herring. They're trying to get you off the trail. And oh my God, all of a sudden The Rock appears at Rumble and here we go. And they tricked us all. Like, that's still possible. But given that they changed creative essentially at the last minute here on Raw, where it was originally all generations of the bloodline, and then it changed overnight to, oh wait, no, Sami Zayn's going to be on trial. Like, they changed that overnight. They changed something where The Rock could have easily been a part of, and it looked like it was a setup for The Rock to return on Raw, to, oh wait, no, Sami Zayn's on trial. They flipped it out of nowhere, and that kind of told me that The Rock gave the cue to Triple H and management, hey guys, I'm not going to be able to make it in time, whatever. So the creative does point to the fact that, yeah, The Rock did say no, he can't make it, can't do it, his schedule. He's got the XFL. He's got a million irons in the fire. Makes sense. But if you're going to replace it with Stone Cold Steve Austin, okay, again, story is not built in. They're going to have to start from scratch, and there's going to have to be some kind of, I'd love to know how they're going to, again, we're going to pretend this is happening right now. How would they even get to this? Like, does Roman Reigns say he's the greatest of all time, just run his mouth after the Rumble, after he beats KO, and say, there's nobody of any generation that can stand up to me, nobody of any generation, and then, bam, the glass crashes. Like, how do you think that this gets set up, and like what would be the story, essentially, because they're starting from complete scratch. There's no backstory on them at all. They're just going to start from really ground zero. But how would you, if you could book this, how would you start the whole program?
I think something along the lines of what you just laid out, something that Roman Reigns has gone through everyone that the company has to offer, both past and present generations. Because let's not forget, he's gone through John Cena, he's gone through Randy Orton, he's gone through Edge. So it's not only the current superstars of Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens that he's defeated. So if he starts running his mouth that he's the greatest of all time, and like you pointed out, no superstar of any generation can beat, that is the perfect cue for Stone Cold Steve Austin, especially if he returns coming off of a victory against Kevin Owens, because who defeated Kevin Owens last year at WrestleMania? Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I think right there you can connect the dots. It's something to draw off of. And beyond that, what's more there to say? Because although the story isn't built in, it does write itself in a lot of ways. That Stone Cold Steve Austin is the one legacy star, aside from The Rock, obviously, the one super noticeable star that Roman Reigns has not run through. Like, hell, he's even run through Brock Lesnar how many times over the last calendar year. So I really think that Stone Cold Steve Austin being the last guy, the last possible obstacle for Roman Reigns to be stopped by, is a good selling point. And look, do I think that Stone Cold Steve Austin would win? Probably not. But I will say that if the championships are to be involved, which at this point, at least bare minimum one will be, it's not as a predictable outcome as The Rock would be, because I guess that would be the next question here is like, look, I don't think Stone Cold Steve Austin would be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns, but do you not think you'd have a better shot to do it than The Rock would?
The thought, this is getting me crazy now, okay? Because, and I mean that in a good way, where The Rock was almost just 100%, no, it was 100% chance that he would not win. He's got too much going on. You all know that the day after WrestleMania, he might show up to Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, but then he's gone. Like, and who the hell knows when he's coming back, right? Like, that's for sure, because The Rock he's just got so much going on. It's really incomprehensible. With Austin, he's got projects going on, but he seems like he's got a lot more free time. I mean, I don't know the man's personal schedule, but I'm not going to pretend to, but he doesn't nearly have the projects that The Rock has going on. They don't seem to be something that Austin's doing. So it's not as predictable. I would still bank that Roman Reigns wins, but it isn't, as you said, it isn't just a complete 100% guarantee that Austin doesn't win. And the thought of the fact that we're in 2023 and we're talking about potentially Stone Cold beating Roman and becoming champion in 2023 is it's really incredible that it's in the realm of possibility. I don't think it's likely. I would bet against it, but the fact that we're even having this conversation is pretty exciting. However, the one thing about this is if this match is set to happen and if Austin accepts the offer from WWE and becomes an even richer man, and good for him. The fact that we also have Sami Zayn out there, though, still makes me wonder, because they have, as you know, they have Elimination Chamber in Montreal. So if this is going to happen, do you think they'll go through the Sami Zayn story with Roman at Elimination Chamber, where the whole collapse happens very soon, and Sami versus Roman happens at Elimination Chamber, where then Roman Reigns gloats about beating down Sami? There's nobody left. And then Austin's glass crashes. Or do you think this happens at the Rumble? Because I feel like if they get to Austin Roman at Rumble, like then they're kind of cannibalizing the Sami Roman story, unless they're going to do it way down the line.
It's very interesting where they're going to go with this, because on one hand, I do agree that you're going to be putting the cart ahead of the horse, right? But you're going to put a cloud over Sami Zayn with the return of Stone Cold Steve Austin. But on the other hand, you have to start building this program, right? And a lot of times you start building WrestleMania main events well in advance. Like, look how long they built Brock versus Roman Reigns last year. They started all the way back at SummerSlam in 2021. Like, you have to really start fast tracking things. And I think a lot of times when you sacrifice time and effort into building a main event, it really isn't that coveted. And you look no further than, well, this match never even came to be, but what was supposed to be Goldberg versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 36 right before the pandemic hit. And literally their build started by a day or the show after Saudi Arabia. Goldberg cut some random promo, turned, stared at the entranceway, and Roman Reigns came out and he started laughing. Like, it can't be something like that. And obviously it being Stone Cold Steve Austin instead of Goldberg will make it that much better just on its own. But I really just don't want something where they're just like, oh, well, there's such big names that the fans will accept it no matter what. Like, it cannot be that. So they're in a very tricky situation here. The other possibility here, and I know we talk about it feels like every show at this point, but are they going to split the championships off of Roman Reigns? And I guess that's another, kind of factor if Sami Zayn is involved here. Do you think they're going to keep both championships on Roman Reigns?
Oh, man. I can't wait to get to Saturday, because a lot of big questions will hopefully be answered. We won't have all the answers, but like, we're so close to getting some kind of progress in our thoughts and in our projections for WrestleMania, because do I think as it stands right now, I do believe they'll split them. And because it's the best thing for the brand at this point, Roman can maintain his streak. It won't go anywhere, and it'll give Raw a massive shot in the arm. Won't be a cure-all, but it'll be a damn good start to get Raw back on track. I think that they will be able to do that. Maybe they'll claim that, that unification actually in the contract was only for a year, and that at this WrestleMania, the championships will be split. So I don't know. I don't really care how they come up with it. I think they will, and it also leads me to believe, okay, if they do, then, obviously you'll have a championship on Raw for the WWE Championship, and on SmackDown you'll have the Universal Championship. I think they will do that, but at the same time, somebody could pitch me the idea, well, if Austin versus Roman Reigns is happening, why would you not make it for, the unified championship? Why wouldn't you try to make it as big as possible? I still wouldn't want to do that. I would still make it just for the Universal Championship and call it a day. But then that leads you to believe, is there any chance, this sounds crazy, do you think there's any chance Austin wins the Royal Rumble? I mean, is that how Austin maybe gets the Roman Reigns, or do you think that's just completely been made for Cody Rhodes to win right from the get-go?
I really have no idea who's going to win, but it would certainly make the path easier. Like, I don't know how well it would go over, because that would mean, what, 3 of the last 4 years, last 3 consecutive years, a part-timer would have won the Royal Rumble, because you would go from Edge to Brock Lesnar to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And as much as I like all 3 guys individually, I'm just not sure if that's a good precedent to set.
No.
Especially when after a solid run, you had, guys like Batista winning it and whatnot. So, but again, if they're going to keep both championships on Roman Reigns, there's no easier path than to just drop Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Royal Rumble and have him win it. And this is it goes back to the entire predicament that we always talk about, that WWE put themselves in when they put both championships on Roman Reigns, is that you kind of pigeonholed yourself into a lot of unfortunate and tough decisions. And a tough decision is that if you want to get to Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, which I don't think anyone would have a problem with, you're probably going to have to make it an unfortunate decision along the way, whether that be him winning Austin winning the Rumble, or Austin returning and overshadowing Sami Zayn. Something is going to be unfortunate here to get Austin into the main event. Because then what becomes of Sami Zayn? What becomes of Kevin Owens? What becomes of Cody Rhodes? What becomes of Seth Rollins, who continually brings up the world championships and Roman Reigns in his promos? There's just so many chips or so many, cards in the air. I'm not sure if that's the right analogy to use, but I just think that there's so many options floating around right now that I have no idea where they're going. And look, like I said last week, they have a lot of good options here at their fingertips, but you run the risk making the wrong one. And I guess for you, do you think that Stone Cold Steve Austin could be the wrong decision to face Roman Reigns?
No, I think it's nearly impossible, to have this be a bad idea, even for both men, because Austin, from what I've been watching, and I've been watching him closely over the last several months, and he has been busting his ass working out. He's made a point of it to show fans he's working out, obviously not saying why. And it could just be simply that he's trying to get in better shape. It could be. But I've never seen him go on this kind of a tear with his fitness and workout routine since I've been following him, all these years. So that does lead you to believe that he isn't getting in ring shape. Maybe he didn't know who his opponent was for this WrestleMania, and they were just telling, hey, Steve, get yourself in shape because I think we'll have someone for you. And now they have someone for him. I mean, I actually thought it was going to be John Cena. I thought it could be Brock Lesnar, and still both of them I'd love to see. But now that you have Stone Cold Steve Austin available, it's nearly impossible if this match happens for it to be bad, because Steve would not put himself in a situation where he would embarrass himself physically, or Roman Reigns, more importantly, with the run Roman Reigns has been on. Because, look, most likely Roman would win this. Most likely. And I like saying that there's a small chance Austin would win. But most likely Roman would win, which would be a staple victory over Roman Reigns, and would make him, for anybody that is cheering him right now, it would instantly turn him back to a mega heel, because beating the best of all time, the biggest babyface WWE and pro wrestling has ever created, ever. I mean, you're going to put yourself into a heat-seeking situation. Even if there's any kind of potential babyface turn at that point, and there have been a lot of cheers for Roman, they'll be gone because beating Stone Cold will instantly turn you heel, and especially if he cheats to win or something. And so it's going to do nothing but wonders for his career. And if they have a great match, and I think they'll have a really good to great match, that'll also maybe put Steve back into contention for another match here or there with John Cena or Brock Lesnar. So it's a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, I agree. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin is one of those can't miss guys, right? And I just wonder, like, how big are they going to go for this WrestleMania? And I guess another question I would ask is, like, if he isn't coming back and it's 100% true, is this the end of The Rock as we know it as an in-ring competitor?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I think this could be it, honestly. Because I think we've had this conversation over I feel like a year, maybe more, that if it's not now at WrestleMania 39, it's probably never, because he's not getting any younger. It's in Hollywood. What better place? Roman's never been hotter. Roman's a heel. You have all the stars aligned, and I've felt that way, that if it's not this year, it's probably never. I'm not saying never, as they always say never in wrestling, but given the situation, given the timing, I would bet against the fact that The Rock ever wrestles again. I really would. Now, that's not to say he won't come back for a cameo or a rock bottom or a people's elbow here and there on a Raw or on a pay-per-view, but I would say that if this match doesn't happen, it probably isn't happening. I'm saying probably because I've eaten my words before with things like this. But yes, certainly with all The Rock's projects, and there's also rumors of him running for president in 2024 that is real. I mean, that kind of stuff. He's got the XFL. He doesn't need wrestling. Wrestling doesn't need him specifically. But I think that, yeah, probably I'd say 60-40 in favor of this is probably the end of at least The Rock Roman, much less The Rock getting back into the ring at all. What do you think?
I think so. Like, I've always held out hope that until he was in the Hall of Fame, that he would be would still have one more match left in him. And I think that even in the mid to late 2010s, we were holding out that hope. Like, it seemed that in 2014, 2015, he was building towards a match with Triple H. Mm-hmm. Then we thought that he was going to be involved in the mixed tag team match with Ronda Rousey, and he was ultimately replaced with Kurt Angle. And then in recent years, we have been holding out hope for Roman Reigns, and we know how close they're in real life. Like, hell, Roman Reigns was in his movie Hobbs and Shaw, and it was referred to in Young Rock, a potential match. So I really do think that The Rock has wanted to do this, because I think if The Rock knew, what was it, 9 years ago, or no, almost 10 years ago now, his last actual match with John Cena, again, not counting his 5-second match with Eric Rowan at WrestleMania 32, we're 10 years removed from his last match in the ring with John Cena when he dropped the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 29. And I think that somewhere along the lines, if he knew 100% without a shadow of a doubt, that he was done, they would have inducted him into the Hall of Fame. Because that's typically what they do. When you're done, or at least at that time you think you're done, you go into the Hall of Fame. But we're 10 years removed from The Rock being involved in WrestleMania in any significant way, and he still has not been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, maybe this year he goes in, maybe next year he goes in, and we finally could just close that book once and for all. And if that's the case, hey, whatever, it sucks that it didn't happen, but at least his last run with John Cena was a semi-memorable one, even though he did severely hurt himself in that last match. But it just kind of sucks that we've been dragged along for the last 10 years, and not just with Roman Reigns. Like I said, I really thought that they were doing something with him and Triple H, or him, Ronda Rousey, Triple H, and Stephanie, or then he had the thing with Rusev, or, the collision with Bray Wyatt. It just seems like he kept dropping hints that he would have one more match, and now it seems that he's slowly just faded back into obscurity, like he did all those years ago in 2003, 2004. So it's like, you did this 20 years ago in a way, where you went from full-time to part-time to sporadic appearances to absolutely nothing. And it felt like history repeated itself just 10 to 15 years later, don't you find?
That's exactly what it is. It's history repeating itself. And I do have to say, though, I do respect The Rock for not half-assing it. If the real reason is that he doesn't feel like he'll have enough time to get into, quote, ring shape, then I respect him for not kind of half-assing it and making it a, kind of a, half-hearted effort. And his body can't keep up. He's sucking wind within 2 minutes, and, it's not the match that he wants it to be. So, I do respect that if that's the reason that he's not able to do this. Because obviously The Rock is in a position that he's in because of the fans, because of you and I supporting him. And I think that he wants to make sure that if that happened, it would be the absolute best it could be. And he doesn't want to risk, just not being able to be in the shape he knows he needs to be in at this advanced age. And eventually, age catches up with all of us. And The Rock, it's so crazy to say ring shape because you look at the dude and you're like, what do you mean ring shape? Like, you're looking at him and you're like, this guy is jacked, no body fat, but as I've heard wrestlers say over the years, there is a difference between being in great gym shape and being in great ring shape. And I understand, I'm not a wrestler, but I understand what they're saying. And if he feels he can't get into ring shape in just, 2-3 months, then I respect that, and if that's the reason, so.
Yeah, it just, I guess, like, as a massive Rock fan back in the day, it really obviously upset me as, like, a young teenager that he did leave, and obviously not thinking about it through an adult lens and a business lens, that was the best decision he ever made. But I just remember his initial return back in 2011, which is crazy to think that was 12 years ago when he returned to the company. But I remember one part of his return where he kind of like broke character and he spoke to everyone as Dwayne, as he said, and he ended that bit off with saying, "And I give you my word, I am never ever going away." And it was just like, dude, you lied to and look, I get it. Nobody expected his movie career to blow up the way it did the last decade. No one expected him to become the face of Under Armour or own the XFL or do any of the things that he's done over the last 5 to 10 years. And it's incredible what he's done, and he deserves all that credit. But it still just kind of feels like wrestling always took that back seat. And in a lot of ways, it kind of does feel like a slap in the face, especially the fact that you strung everyone along over the last 10 years. And obviously I'm probably getting too emotional, and the fan in me is really screaming and breaking out here. But I don't know, maybe I'm just being a bit immature here, but is there not a bit of like resentment that, like, not so much that he never came back for a final match, but more that he strung everyone else? Or do you just look at it as simply as he just didn't have time and he didn't want to half-ass it?
Yeah, well, when you frame it like that, I mean, now the fan in me is annoyed. And there was that moment in 2014, 2015, that infamous, hilarious backstage segment with Triple H and The Rock that starts out friendly and funny, and then it gets darker and darker and darker. And they start saying, well, what if at WrestleMania, like one more time, The Rock and Triple H, because they never got that WrestleMania match. And Triple H has said that's the one regret he's got. And it was supposed to happen. It was supposed to be a setup, as Triple H said this on the, not just in the Impulsive podcast, but many others, like that it was supposed to happen. It was going to be Rock and Triple H one-on-one at WrestleMania that year. And it ultimately didn't happen because Triple H said The Rock's schedule. So I think that tells you that even as he's given his word to Triple H, that it's not just the fans that he has slighted, if we're taking a negative view, and that's fine. I think we're all entitled to be a little bit annoyed at The Rock putting us kind of second or third, but he even slighted Triple H and management after he set that little program up and told them, yeah, let's do this. And then Triple H said his schedule. Well, his schedule. And I'm tired of hearing about his schedule, too. Like, the immature part of me wants to be like, dude, I'm tired of hearing about your effing schedule. Give us one more match. And it sounds so selfish and easy to say. And to be fair, it's not like, hey, Rock, can you just come back for a quick rock bottom? Like, that's fair to say, like, you can just pop in, like, L.A. or wherever and just have some, a greatest hits moment. But for us to say to him, and I think most fans don't understand this, like, hey, I need you to come back. I want it to be not just a match, any match. I want it to be the match on WrestleMania for the main event with one of our hottest guys and biggest guys in pro wrestling. That is, even for The Rock, anybody, that's asking a lot if they don't have a lot of time to prepare. And the thing is, we don't know what Triple H and management have been in discussions with The Rock. We don't know if what if they didn't tell The Rock, hey, we want you here until like a week ago? We don't know. We really don't. I mean, The Rock knows that we wanted this match, but until he gets an official offer from WWE, I wouldn't start getting myself in ring shape either. I wouldn't. That's a lot of commitment and time and killing yourself to get in a ring shape if WWE doesn't come to me with an offer. So we don't know when The Rock was officially offered this match, to be fair.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, there's a lot of things we don't know. I guess for me, it's mostly that they've strung it along. Like, there's nobody could tell me that he hasn't been telling them just like, yeah, keep going with this. Like, I'll be able to do it eventually. Like, there's been way too much smoke, right? Like, there's no way that they were just building this without him, like, backing them in some way, right? With all, like, the props from his movies and just even him bringing it up in, like, Hollywood interviews. Like, I can't imagine they would have implied it so much if he had told them from the onset he couldn't do this, no?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, that's the other side of the coin, right? Like, it's kind of clear, I'm sure. If management and Triple H, they got to be smart enough to know, and they're in the business. They know how long it takes, what the type of commitment it's going to require to get into ring shape. You're not going to tell someone a month ahead of time, hey, we're going to have you in the main event, so get yourself ready. I mean, it takes many months of dedication to get there. So you're right. I mean, like, yeah, this has really been a discussion for literally years now. We can say plural, years. So yeah, I mean, there is that part of it too. And we could all be just kind of ranting on this for no reason, because this could be all BS. And we've seen these reports, even on credible websites, where it was all just put out there to the public and leaked, quote unquote. And all of a sudden you hear at the Rumble, if you smell, I mean, we don't know, right? Like, there's still that chance. I think it's much smaller now, but there's still the chance that it's Rock Roman at Mania. It's not completely erased yet.
No, you're right. And for me, I think the Stone Cold Steve Austin thing is a direct result of them being, this is, again, just my take on it, this is a direct result of them being blindsided with The Rock's news. I think that they recently kind of found out, like, okay, this isn't happening, and we can't let the fans down. Like, and good on WWE. If this is them realizing that they've kind of strung the fans along through no fault of their own, because again, I firmly believe that this falls at the feet of The Rock. Like you said, you brought up with the Triple H thing that, like, that was supposed to happen. They planted the seeds for that. Several segments. The Rock with the backstage scene, The Rock coming back to help Roman Reigns win the Rumble, and then having the stare down with Triple H, The Rock having the physical altercation with Triple H at WrestleMania 31. Everything was put into motion, and then ultimately The Rock's schedule. And once again, I think this was The Rock's schedule, but I think WWE's way of trying to at least make up for it in some type of an adequate way was getting Stone Cold Steve Austin, making that offer for Stone Cold Steve Austin. And in a lot of ways, it maybe end up being the better choice.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell, and I do see what they're doing here. They're calling it Plan B. It's hilarious that Stone Cold Steve Austin is a Plan B, but in this unique situation, he is probably the only situation Austin could be considered a, quote, Plan B. And they're very well aware of what the fans want and expect at this year's WrestleMania. And if they're going to Stone Cold to try to make good on that kind of informal behind the scenes promise, while it's never been explicitly told by, in a press release or on Raw or on SmackDown that, hey, Rock Roman's coming to Mania, the fans have all kind of just collectively gotten to this conclusion that it's got to be the Rock at Mania. And if The Rock did do this to WWE again and they said, sorry guys, I'm sorry, I did commit it, but my schedule, then if I was WWE at this point, I would just say, you know what, like, I'm done with this. Like, we can't keep doing this where you're going to have a program, you're going to commit, we're going to plant seeds, and then last second you have a schedule change or you're doing this or that. Like, if you have that hectic of a life for a match, we can't count on you. I mean, like, I hate to say that, but if I was management, I wouldn't count on it. For a one-off, a one night, a rock bottom, a people's elbow, like, fine, like, great for that kind of a thing. But if you're WWE, and this last thing I'll ask you, and we'll close it out, is can you count on The Rock for an actual match if this is truly The Rock's doing here?
No, absolutely not. Because this was a match that wasn't just for WWE. Like this, he always talks about how much his family means to him, and Roman Reigns is his family. So this was like the picture perfect send off for The Rock. Like you couldn't have written it any better. And he's again assuming that that's the case, and I can't imagine that WWE would willingly go away from it. So I'm just gonna assume that it's The Rock, and The Rock is willingly turning his back on the WWE, Roman Reigns, his family in some ways, and most importantly, in my opinion, the fans, because the fans have been clamoring for this. And I don't watch Young Rock, but apparently there were even seeds planted in Young Rock about him versus Roman Reigns. So, I mean, if he's doing it on his end too, then that's his bad. I'm sorry. And look, I get it. Zoa, XFL, Hollywood, Under Armour. Look, I get the whole thing. Okay, I understand it. But don't plant seeds. And he's done this before, with Triple H specifically. He did that. They built that for almost a year with Triple H. And there was nothing. There was no payoff. There was nothing. So, I mean, for me, if this truly is what's going to happen and The Rock isn't going to be here and this match isn't going to happen, like, I guess just for lack of better words, the hell with him. If you want to come back and do your greatest hits and, like, take out, I don't know, some jobber team, I don't know, just random, the American Alpha, let's say, or the Alpha Academy, let's say, fine, I'll be there all day for that. But in terms of anything significant, it's crazy to say this, but I think he's lost that opportunity. I think that he didn't earn that anymore. Like, you can only rest on your laurels for so long, and I think The Rock has kind of duped us way too many times over the last decade.
And management. Again, we're going on some assumptions here, but the Triple H telling us he's done this before. His own mouth. I mean, he came out of his own mouth telling us that if this is another situation that he's done it again, he can't be counted on. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It sucks if this is the case, because The Rock Roman not only hurts the fans and we're pissed off. I mean, like, we just are. Like, this is Austin. If Austin Roman happens, awesome. Like, that'll be really cool. But the fact that we've been talking about the Rock Roman match and how perfect it is as a family storyline, and it doesn't happen because The Rock, slights WWE and says, "Oh, sorry guys, on my schedule," but then yeah, I think that'll not just hurt The Rock in the image that the fans have of him, but it also hurts Roman Reigns in a way where fans are really looking forward to this match, and now they don't get that moment of the Roman Reigns beating The Rock, the true head of the table, for Roman Reigns having that victory moment over The Rock at Mania. So yeah, it also kind of hurts Roman Reigns as well. So all right, well, man, I didn't expect it to take that turn where we're bashing The Rock, but if this is the case, it's kind of deserving as a fan. I think we're entitled to feel this way. So, you have any closing comments?
No, I guess exactly what you said. I wasn't expecting to take this turn, and anyone who's listened to me for the last 3-4 years, however long I've been on this podcast, and as that The Rock is my favorite of all time, but I guess this is just the mega fan coming out of me, of just the pure anger and resentment. And again, not because it's not him coming back, but it's more the fact that so many seeds have been planted, and because it isn't the first time that he's done this. And it's for a guy who talks about his fans so much and, tries to play on an image that he's, I don't know, for the people, whatever the hell image he tries to play on his social media. I just think it's kind of a slap in the face, to be honest. Not like he gives a damn what I think, obviously. I'm like the least significant person in this world as far as The Rock is concerned. But just as an everyday fan, I would say it's kind of been a giant slap in the face, because it's just like, look, dude, if you're out, you're out. It's fine. We get it. Stone Cold Steve Austin was out for 19 years and nobody got upset with him because no seeds were planted. He would come back, do his greatest hits, and leave. It wasn't like he was spending like a month or a couple months building to an Undertaker match, and then at the 11th hour it was say, "Oh, I'm sorry, no. Like, no, Austin was out, and now that he's back in, it seems like he's committed. And obviously The Rock's situation is a lot busier and a lot more complex than Austin's, but the point still stands. If you can't do it, don't lead everyone on. It kind of sounds like a girl and a relationship and a guy or whatever, but I mean, I guess I'm just that kind of rattled about this.
No, I mean, it's either crap or get off the pot, right? Like, either do it or don't, and don't half-ass your decision. You know, like, if I was WWE and I knew the main event 6 months ago, I would have made it so The Rock can't come up with an excuse to anybody about like, oh, it's my schedule, I don't have time. I would have given him more than enough time to get ready and tell him, look, if you're committing to this, you need to commit to it. Everything else needs to be cleared from your schedule. That's just the commitment it's going to require for this. And if you can't do it, fine, but don't tease us with this stuff. Don't put any kind of feelers out there and The Rock makes comments or this or that. Like, just stop and just be point blank with the fans that, you know, I'm sorry, I wish I could back in my day, you know, blah, blah, blah. And great, then it's out of our minds and we're disappointed, but it's ripping the Band-Aid off fast. This is like a big tease with a carrot in front of us that we're never going to be able to grab. It seems like that, you know, the Rock and Roman is not going to happen, and it is disappointing on a lot of levels if this is true. You know, I guess you could maybe do it next year, but, you know, WrestleMania 40, nice even number, but like then by then who the hell knows where Roman Reigns is going to be. The Rock is now, you know, going to be like 50. I mean, like you're in his 50s. I mean, like you're really pushing it at that point. Then The Rock going to be in the XFL. Who the hell knows? Like, you can't just keep going WrestleMania to WrestleMania. And I really, it is very frustrating to see this. But at the same time, Stone Cold Steve Austin, not a bad substitute if that happens. So, all right, well, let's close this out here and let everybody know that you dropped your latest retro show on Friday, and your latest topic was the first run of Brock Lesnar in the WWE.
Yeah, I thought it was something cool to go back and cover, because I don't think we talk about it a lot, given on what's gone on with Brock Lesnar over the last 10.5 years since he returned to the company following WrestleMania 28. But if you go back and listen and you go back and look at his matches and his highlights, you realize how push he was. And I don't know about you, but I can't think of a more dominant first calendar year, a guy who came in and had victories over Hogan, Rock, Undertaker, and Kurt Angle under his belt as a two-time WWE champion before he had even spent a year on the main roster. So if you want to look at arguably the hottest start to someone's career, look no further than Brock's run from 02 to 04.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's ever been duplicated. I mean, as far as somebody's start that hot with that number of big victories, I really don't know if that's ever been paralleled. So yeah, great show and a great topic to discuss, as Brock Lesnar's first run is not really discussed. It's usually the return he made in 2012, I think it was, eventually facing John Cena and many others, Triple H, the infamous John Cena squash at SummerSlam, like, you know, that kind of thing. And his first run, I think, is overshadowed and unfortunately got a bad taste in everybody's mouth with the final match with Goldberg, as we all know. But there's a lot to love in his first run, a lot to love, and I really would encourage everybody to take a listen to your show to remind you of how great his first couple of years in WWE were, that eventually, of course, led to a great UFC career and a return to WWE. So, Anthony, I hope the next time that we talk, once the Rumble has come and gone, we will have a lot more to talk about. Maybe all of this will have us eating our words and The Rock comes back. Or maybe it's just Roman Reigns holding up the championships and the fireworks go off and we get nothing. I mean, we really could be from one extreme to the other, and it's going to be interesting when we talk in a week.
I definitely think there's going to be a lot more clarity on where we're headed for WrestleMania when we talk in a week's time, for sure, man.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it, and you have a good night.
You too. Enjoy the Rumble, buddy.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.